Today, we are diving deep into the minds of three incredible pioneers. These folks are completely redefining what it means to be self-sufficient. From the high desert of New Mexico all the way to the lava fields of Hawaii, they're engineering systems not just to survive, but to truly thrive, even in some of the most challenging environments you can imagine. I mean, really think about that for a second. What does it take to build a life entirely from scratch? Imagine you've got nothing but a patch of, undesirable desert land. Or maybe all you have is this wild idea about building a house out of garbage. What are the absolute first problems you have to solve? And that's the real question, isn't it? Because it's one thing to just scrape by, to barely make it. It is a completely different challenge to create systems that actually generate abundance, security, and even comfort, all while being completely off the grid. So here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll tackle the water equation. Then we'll get into shelter and energy. After that, it's all about food and resources. And finally, we'll explore the mindset, the why behind all of this. All right, let's jump right in. Okay, first things first, water. It all starts with water. Without it, absolutely nothing else is possible. So how on earth do you secure this life-giving resource when you're literally in the middle of a desert?
Let's start with this number right here, 7. 7 inches. That's the total amount of rain that Earthship architect Mike Reynolds has to work with each year in Taos, New Mexico. On the surface, it seems totally impossible to build a life on so little. But as you'll see, that's where the genius kicks in.
Okay, this is where the magic really happens. The Earthship system is designed to use every single drop of water 4 times over. It's brilliant. First you catch it, then you use it for washing, then that gray water gets recycled to grow food inside, and finally it gets used one last time for flushing. That measly 7 inches of rain suddenly acts like 28 inches. You're literally creating abundance from almost nothing.
Now that's one really clever solution. But you know what? There's more than one way to solve the water problem. On one end of the spectrum, you've got this homesteader who spent years just watching his land, carving ditches and swales by hand to harvest every single drop of runoff. And on the complete other end, you've got tech that can literally pull fresh water right out of the air.
So this is what that high-tech solution looks like. It's called an atmospheric water generator. The easiest way to think about it is like a superpowered dehumidifier. But instead of just drying the air, this machine's only job is to condense all that moisture into pure, drinkable water. This creates a source of water that is completely 100% independent of rainfall. That is a total game changer.
But here's the thing. Ingenuity doesn't always need a high-tech budget. Remember that homesteader? He built a system that can store 12,000 gallons of rainwater for just $200. It just goes to show you that clever, thoughtful design can be just as powerful as some complex, expensive machine. For him, this isn't just about storing water. It's a system that reduces pressure on his life.
All right, so with water secured, we can move on to the next couple of essentials: shelter and the energy you need to make that shelter actually livable. These two are so deeply connected, they really form the core of your day-to-day comfort and, honestly, your safety. This quote from the homesteader, a guy who actually used to be homeless, just puts it all in perspective. It really grounds you in the stakes. In extreme climates, shelter is not a luxury. It is the absolute first line of defense against the elements. It's the difference between life and death, plain and simple. So Earthships tackled this shelter problem by completely redefining what a building material can even be. Forget wood and concrete. Their main materials are what society throws away. We're talking scrap tires, aluminum cans, glass bottles. This stuff isn't trash. It becomes the very building blocks of a super resilient home.
And here is the brilliant physics behind it all. Each one of those scrap tires is packed solid with 300 pounds of dirt. This creates walls with incredible thermal mass. And these walls act like a temperature battery. They just soak up the sun's heat all day long, and then, at night, they slowly release it back into the house. This keeps the indoor temperature amazingly stable all year round, with no furnace and no air conditioner.
And this table really lays out the 3 different energy philosophies we're seeing. The homesteader, he's all about redundancy, having multiple backup systems. The Earthship is built for maximum efficiency, minimizing its energy needs through that clever design. And then you have tech mogul Hank Rogers, who's aiming for just pure abundance, creating so much solar power that the problem isn't scarcity, it's what to do with all the extra. So once you've got your water, your shelter, and your energy sorted, the next big step in building a thriving system is cultivating your own food and resources. This is how you create a truly self-sustaining loop. The homesteader pulls this off with another piece of low-tech brilliance, a geothermal greenhouse. He uses the constant, stable temperature of the earth itself to regulate the air inside. A simple fan just pushes air through these tubes buried underground, which warms the air in the winter and cools it in the summer. It's so simple, and it allows him to grow food all year, no matter what the weather is doing outside. And here we go again. We see these three distinct strategies for food. The homesteader is focused on frugal, practical systems he can run himself, just adding another layer of structure to his life. The Earthship integrates food production right into the living space, creating this indoor biosphere where gray water literally feeds banana trees. And then the tech mogul. He uses his resources to experiment, growing everything from coffee to avocados on his ranch in Hawaii as part of building a lasting legacy. Wow. This quote from Mike Reynolds is just incredibly powerful. His answer to whether you can actually live off the food grown in his homes, it changed completely after a life-altering diagnosis. It just goes to show you that what we consider enough is so often just a matter of perspective, and of course, necessity. So we've seen the how, right? We've seen all these innovative systems for water, shelter, and food. But what about the why? What's the core philosophy that drives somebody to build an entire life this way? For the homesteader, who came from a life of profound instability, it is all about this idea right here, building structure to reduce pressure. Every single system he creates, from his water storage to having a year's supply of meat, is designed to buy him peace of mind, to buy him time. For Mike Reynolds, it's a mission, and it's born out of pure urgency. He looks at the world, sees it in crisis, and he genuinely believes he's designing a lifeboat. He's not waiting for some future collapse. He's responding to the problems that he sees happening right now, trying to create a model that anyone can use to achieve real security. And for Hank Rogers, the guy who brought Tetris to the world, it's all about legacy. After a near-death experience, he saw his wealth not as some end goal, but as a tool. A powerful tool that comes with a responsibility to build a more resilient, more sustainable future for the generations that follow. So you have 3 different people, 3 different paths, 3 different philosophies, all aiming for a life of thrival. And it leaves us with one final question to think about. I mean, it doesn't have to be a massive solar array or a geothermal greenhouse, but what small systems could you build into your own life, not just to survive, but to reduce pressure and buy yourself that most valuable resource of all, time.